I will.
If everybody's ready, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This will be for public comment for the proposed ordinance on the ambulance transport fees. So Brian, unless you want to make a comment, I don't suppose you really got to do that.
You need time to explain what it entails, that's how we do it.
ALS is, of course, advanced life support, but level 2 would be for more like a ventilator patient, a more severe case that would require a higher level of advanced care. That's why the fees are a little bit higher on that. There's a ton of things that can fall into specialty care. It just depends on the patient's condition. A lot of times that's going from facility to facility. If they have maybe a special type of medication that you have to monitor, certain types of ventilators, cardiac equipment and things like that.
So, do you get many calls just to go from one hospital to another, not just from wherever the patient was to a hospital, but transport to a different hospital? Do you get much of that?
Absolutely. Well, especially when the hospital was still here, we had many of those calls a day. And still now, because we're taking so many patients to these area hospitals, we'll get calls, come back and pick them up and take them to the higher level facility.
So you might have an emergency transport and follow.
Yes, exactly. And depending on what the diagnosis is of the patient at the local hospital, they could continue to emergency transport to a higher level of care.
They wouldn't be subject to these.
Usually, when it comes to facility transfer, we have a negotiated rate under contract with that facility with the hospital, in which the hospital pays us the negotiated rate because we have an established business relationship.
Gotcha. Okay.
Tony, one thing Dallas had called on the ambulance was the designation. Your title was actually Fire Chief of Gilmer County Fire and Emergency Services. Is that correct?
My official title was Public Safety Director, but Fire Chief is still one important part of those duties under the fire department.
Y'all want to change that since he's the...
Whatever.
Why would we? What change are you talking?
Just to make it consistent with our title.
Your department heads, it's his recommendation that we make the changes in the transport fees as he did, and then y'all would adopt it as your resolution. So, I'm just picking it up from where Dallas asked.
It was a consistency question only, nothing significant.
Well, can we change it on the paperwork?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to change Tom's time.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that. Yeah,
So-
that would be appropriate.
So we'll rename it to Public
Safety Director.
Safety Director.
That's fine.
That's a department clerk, so yeah,
It's automatic.
It's automatic, he has the ability to do that.
Well,
It goes to him as a,
right, and we would control it, and if he chose not to make that decision, then we would control it on behalf of
but without that phrase, would he have the opportunity to assign it?
Yes,
You could delegate.
he always does.
Temporary work?
But this is a fee structure, and it's built into the ordinance. It really doesn't need to be delegated. It needs to be done. That's impacting this budget. So.
Well, and also too, if we did end up having to, issue any of these not the final signature would be mine, whoever might could bring me this back that I would be signing off on as the final authority on
That's the
it.
fire chief.
Sure. I'll answer to whatever, right? We'll do that.
Easy, pass it over.
Charlie, I was telling you how bad the internet speeds are out there in my house. Complained, and you can see about it. Two guys show up today with a bucket truck. And they said, we need to lift up our bucket truck here to see below the map location. I said, well, okay. So they get it up there, I don't know, 30, 40 feet in the air. I think I can see below the road. They have evidently a microwave transmission for internet connection. Blasted off of below the road, but it's gotta be line of sight. And I said, this works. Didn't want to ask him how much it's gonna cost, but I said, how fast is it? He says, it's fast enough to do whatever we do with cable. So it's called actually air fiber transmission. So I mean, we're talking fiber cable speeds. Well, I don't know yet. The guy says, I think we got a good line of sight.
You know, there's limits on how, you know, how you put that antenna now. So-
No, there isn't. This isn't my antenna, this is a utility, and I think they're exempt from those rules. The utility companies are exempt, so. But anyway, I don't know what they're talking about if they do it, whether it's a telephone pole or on my roof, or it's gotta be higher than my roof, actually. So I don't know what they're talking about, but if they can give me that kind of speed out there, I might be more than happy.
We finally gave up.
Well, I gave up. I mean, I complained and complained. It is a problem, but what I got, they won't do anything because they've got wires that are running from the industry or somebody else. They don't even know the lines out there.
That's what I was saying hey for.
It's good to go.
Okay, we'll call the public comment session to order. This is public comment for the proposed alarm systems ordinance. And we'll give it a few minutes, and if nobody shows up, we'll go ahead and close it out. you were in there when I realized this, but some of those pictures of junk that I took,
They're junk, but they're still using.
they may be junk, but he's still using them.
So we decided to have two classifications, serviceable junk and unserviceable.
Right. Yeah.
Just up the hill, you can get all the mulch you want too.
True that. A lot of people know that's good.
Loading it is the thing.
Yeah.
Still good. It's still good.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Let's stand for our invocation and then we can pledge allegiance. Heavenly Father, we always thank you for the days of beauty you created and given us to live. We thank you for that. Lord, I'm reminded now of those that have suffered in our county in an accident today, and we do ask that you watch over them and comfort their families and loved ones. We ask that you be with our rescue and the first responders and give them strength and help them through this time as well. And I ask that you guide us as we meet and talk and discuss and take actions. That we will serve the citizens of this county as well as serving you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would propose one change to the agenda. Would be, tabling of the resolution. Item 6, table item 6. Resolution on rear ordinance. And I believe we have one addition that we need to make.
To approve that, the second amendment to the existing intergovernmental agreement with the water authorities on the construction of the sewer plant.
So to add the second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the water authority on the sewer connection to the jail.
That's a whole business.
Yes. Is there, are there any other changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Then I'll make that in form of motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to look through the minutes? This would be the September 7th work session, September 8th public hearing of soil erosion ordinance, the September 8th regular meeting, September 8th executive session, September 12th special call meeting, September 22nd work session, and the October 4th special call meeting. Anybody have any changes or corrections to those minutes?
I have none.
If not, I would make a motion that it needs to be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kim? I'm missing the second page of the agenda. Could you expand on that part before we get to that? Sandy, would you do our financial statement, please?
This is the financial report for August 31st. Each department should be at 67% of their budget used. Departments over budget at August 31st were voter registrar at 68%, sheriff's department at 69%, public defender at 73%, fire department at 70%, planning and zoning 68%, juvenile court fund 120%. Overall, we are at 47% of the total revenue budget received and 67% of the total expenditure budget used. Total revenue received to date, $8,829,038. Total expenditures to date, $12,611,586.
Are there any questions on the financial statement? Thank you, Sandy. Okay, that brings us to old business, and the first item then would be the second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the county and the Water Authority. This is something that we're doing that will alleviate, hopefully, the requirement that the county pledge full faith and credit and taxes on this chief loan.
Chairman, I would make the motion that we authorize you as chairman to execute that second amendment document so we can move forward.
I second that.
And any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the county attorney to amend and advertise changes to the land use ordinance. So we, I guess, have the land use ordinance pretty much where we want it, with the exception of the changes that you and I discussed on the animals. And this will be only to authorize the advertising. I would make a motion that we go forward and authorize the county attorney to amend and advertise the changes to the land use ordinance.
Second.
Any comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know why you are amending the land use ordinance.
Well, the land use ordinance is actually, originally was sort of a cut and paste from another county that doesn't share an awful lot with Gilmer County in a lot of ways. And we run up against a couple of problems. One with the new popularity of the wedding venues. The other, and there's some, right now there's some discussion as to what constitutes a large wedding venue, what constitutes a small venue. We ran up on a rather large problem when there was an attempt to put a rehabilitation center at the lodge at White Path in the middle of a residential community. So we went through there and we figured that there's an awful lot of things that need to be changed. We have a lot of requests from folks where they feel that changes need to be made. For instance, in terms of how close can you put a small building to the landline, that sort of thing. There's just a number of things in there that nobody had really gone through from Gilmer County perspective. It was just a cut and paste from another county. So we felt like we needed to go through the whole thing, thinking of it in terms of Gilmer County.
Okay, specifically, I'd like to know why you, at least from the paper, because I'm getting this from the paper, about the change number of animals per acre. That one, and also how are you going to define a hobby farm? Because when I went back and looked that up, there's really no real definition for what you're considering a hobby farm. And third, I want to know why you're going to tax hobby farms. You don't have to get a special permit to have a hobby farm.
Actually, my understanding on this is that the hobby farm would basically be on its way out. We had a lot of requests from folks who initially wanted to keep laying hens because they wanted to be able to go out and gather and eat their own eggs. So one of the requests that we got was to allow, in a residential lot, to allow people to have a few laying hens as long as they were contained in a pen and not running loose. In the discussion of that, that sort of branched out to, well, if they've got enough acreage, And if the covenants don't prohibit it, that they could keep some small animals, large animals, depends on how many acres you've got, which pretty much mimics what we now call a hobby farm. My feeling is with this new ordinance that hobby farm will essentially go away. Well, I shouldn't say that. I guess there'd be some situations where somebody might want to apply for a hobby farm. But for the most part, if you're out in the country and you zone residential, and you're not where you have any covenants or that prohibit it, you'll be able to keep a few animals based on the acreage that you have. Similar to a hobby farm now. I'm not aware of any taxation that we put on a hobby farm. What, do we tax a hobby farm? I'm not aware of any kind of taxing that we do for that.
Well, you don't, then you don't tax now. What I read in the paper was that you were going to have to get some kind of certificate or pay a fee to quote unquote be a hobby farm.
I'm not aware of any.
I'm not aware of anything like that in the ordinance. Right.
Also, the ordinance said that right now, the ordinance goes, you can have one large animal over 300 pounds, two animals under 300 pounds, and X number of chickens. Okay, so per acre, according to the paper, you were going to make that same ordinance. Now you have to have 2 acres to have that same animal population. Is that true?
Was this to the large animal?
I'm sorry.
It was to the
Large animal.
It'd be 2 acres of grazable land. The acreage requirements didn't change as far as the small, the birds.
So yes, for a large animal, you would have to have 2 acres of grazable land. And that's not us trying to limit anybody, that's just, you know, what you need to have to be able to support a large animal grazing on the land.
Well, I would strongly disagree with that. If you have an acre, I have 4 acres and there's 1 tree on my whole property. It's all pasture. I can run 1 large animal per acre as a no-brainer. Basically, I find that that's pretty restricted, 2 acres to 1 large animal.
Are you currently zoned agricultural or residential?
Agriculture.
If you're zoned agricultural, this wouldn't apply to you.
Oh, this is only for residential then?
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Okay, paper didn't make that clear.
Okay, yeah, this is for property zoned residential. If you're zoned agricultural, you'll have your own different requirements, and I don't believe any of those would apply.
No.
So,
Well, thank you.
Could you
Yes.
identify yourself for the record?
Yeah, Ron Harmon?
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Are there any other comments on the proposed land use ordinance?
I would comment there will be multiple opportunities for public input. This is just the beginning of the process.
And generally speaking, we're relaxing requirements rather than tightening in this ordinance. Do we have, I think I made a motion on that, and I don't remember.
Yes, we have a motion and a second.
Have a motion and a second, okay. All in favor? Aye. Action on the resolution agreement with Gilmer Arts. I believe what we had decided was to strike the 1 paragraph, and then we could move forward with it, and to add the escape clause, Gilmer County.
When y'all looked at it.
Oh, this was already there.
It had.
So if we strike that 1
Better
clause,
than what we used before.
okay,
So it's just the first paragraph, I believe.
yeah.
Under section 2.
Section 2, item 1. Okay, so with those changes, is there a motion to accept or deny this?
I would make a motion to accept it with the item, or section 2, item 1 stricken.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. approval of the lease agreement with the Gilmer County Boys and Girls Club. On this, basically, I think if we approve it with the stipulation that whatever they build will meet all of the requirements regarding flood zones and obviously the building code, then we should be good.
Is a memorandum of understanding, Joel,
Yes.
is approved tonight, was the formally said that they presented.
Correct.
You committing to them that you would enter into this.
So I would make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding, that we would lease this property to them, contingent on them following all the rules for flood zoning and building code.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to make a motion that we table item 4. We'll be writing a letter to these folks, asking them if they have a candidate. This is to appoint a member to the Region 1 Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities Planning Board. And we simply don't have a candidate at this point. So I'll make a motion that we table that until the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consideration of ordinance to allow registration of UTVs for road use. Let me make sure I have our language, have the language on this correct. We don't find anything prohibiting this, and we see no need for a county ordinance specifically allowing it. So therefore, I would make a motion that we table. Would we be tabling this, or would we be just taking table action? Okay, I would make a motion to table action on this.
And I would second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Brings us to new business. Approving the application of Sohaib Roy, Shorty's Enterprises Incorporated at Walker's Corner for an alcoholic beverage license. If I understand it, this is a change of ownership at a location where a license currently exists. Shannon, all the paperwork's in order and all the background checks. There's no problem there.
That's all in good shape.
Okay. All right. That being the case, I make a motion that we approve the application.
And I'll second that.
Is there any comment or discussion?
Just wanted to are you all here with the application? Just want to make sure you've seen the ordinance that was
Right.
unchanged.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. In that case, all in favor? Aye. Have a rezoning request from Jessica E. Higdon from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. And as I recall, this was to combine a small piece of land with current property. The planning commission, planning board approved it. I don't believe we had any objections to that one. So is there anybody here to speak specifically to this rezoning request tonight?
Shannon, we're officially changing it from residential to agriculture, is that not what we're actually doing?
Yes.
Okay, rezoning it, so it can be combined?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any need to make it conditional, because it won't meet the minimum requirements for agriculture, it has to be combined, right?
That is correct.
Should we make it conditional on it being combined with the other?
I think it'd be appropriate to do that because it says their stated intent. They
That's
shouldn't
what
have a
they
problem
want to
with it.
do.
And standing alone, it'd be a violation.
Right.
So I would,
So
I would think that would be prudent to do
Yes.
Okay, so, and I would make a motion that we approve this request, on the condition that it does, that they do combining.
Second.
All in favor?
that.
Aye. Rezoning request for McCrary Farms from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. This is also to combine property. Okay, is there anyone here to speak specifically to this rezoning? Okay. Then I would make a motion that it be approved.
On condition on,
Same condition.
Same condition, yes. Have they be approved, conditional on combining it.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Rezoning request for Cynthia A. Mangrum from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. And I believe the primary purpose of this was so that they could maintain an RV on the site with a septic tank for guests. So we have a motion on
Motion to approve it.
Second.
that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Awarding a proposal for ortho and oblique imagery deliverables. Okay, this is one where we have two bids. The bid from Pictometry, if you do an apples to apples comparison, because the two bids were not identical, but if you do an apples to apples comparison of the two bids, Pictometry is the lower cost. And it does provide a number of things that we feel are important, such as having a much greater presence locally and having worked with many more counties in the state than the other ones. So based on the lower price and the local presence and so forth, I would make the recommendation that, I would make the motion that we accept the bid from Pictometry.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. 616. Adopting the first reader for a new chapter to the Gilmer County Code of Ordinances titled EMS and Ambulance Transport Fees Ordinance. This would be to adopt the first reader on this. I would make the motion that we accept that and adopt it.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Adopting the first reader for a new chapter to the Gilmer County Code of Ordinances titled Alarm Systems Ordinance. So I would make a motion. We've had the public comment section prior to this meeting. So I would make a motion that we approve the first reader for this.
Second.
Any comments? Yes, sir.
Will you set fees at some point?
Yes. we will set fees, and I'll make sure you get a copy of them. So, and I would think we would need to do that before the final approval of this as well.
And I think we, as we discussed yesterday, we needed to designate a person that was the alarm systems coordinator as a board of commissioners as well before we can do both. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have both of those before we do a final approval. Any other comment or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and vote on the construction of a new fire station to be situated on a parcel of land owned by Gilmer County along Pig Lane, Sherlock, Georgia. Tax map 3105B, parcel 10. This would be, as I understand it, simply a resolution to move forward with the project. And that being the case, I would make a motion that we move forward with this project.
A second.
Any comment or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of disposal method for unserviceable automobiles and equipment. Currently, we've got quite a few of those at the road department. And what I would say is that we ask Jim Smith to identify what he does not need out there. Obviously, I'm not the one to do that. But that in fact, I would make a motion that we ask Jim to identify what's not needed and to dispose of that in a suitable manner.
I'll second that, and just ask the question, is there any way or any need for any of that to be notified to other departments if there's any possible use for any of that? Not that I expect there is.
That's a very good question. What we have done, and I discussed this after the work session yesterday, we've identified 3 sheriff's vehicles that are still serviceable. And I would not get rid of those. We would notify, I have one department that I've already got dibs on, one of them for Randy Chadwick's solid waste department, because we currently pay a gentleman to collect money at the different convenience centers. We pay him personal mileage. And we can put one of those vehicles in service to provide for that, then I think that's a savings to the taxpayer. Since our meeting yesterday, I checked with Priest Recycling on the price today for scrap metal for car crushing, and it's $2 per 100 pounds. So we simply, we're required to take the vehicle down there, and of course it goes over the scales, and they weigh it, and then they handle the disposal of it. I will tell you that there are some vehicles out there that government tags are still on. Happens to be James old Jeep. And there may be other things in those vehicles, like light bars and things like that, that the department that owns the vehicle, they may want them. I'm not going to take them off. It's their vehicle. They can come and take them off if they want. If they don't want them, then it goes to the department.
It's my understanding, once they're left there, they've got everything they want.
That was my understanding too. But nobody is following the memo that you sent out. They just mysteriously appear.
Well, one thing too is that the light bars and the other equipment on those Crown Vics won't fit on a Charger, so they really don't have any.
Well, the cage inside the roll bar and the cage, it probably
Won't fit in the Charger either.
you know, but it's an appurtenance to the vehicle. If they want it, they can come and get it. If not, it's going.
One clarification, the $2 per 100 pounds, that is actually revenue to the county, not expense.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that'll probably cover the cost of transporting.
Just about that, you know, because you're gonna have to put it on a trailer.
Yes.
And haul it down there. Yeah, it'll just about cover the expense to get it.
I know that's extra work. Appreciate you taking it on, even though you didn't have a lot of choice.
I think I may do this motion.
I think I second it.
Second. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve supplemental agreement number 3 from the Georgia Department of Transportation for the FTA fiscal year 166311 capital program, which is the MATS buses. So,
I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Can I offer a suggestion? If their calendar year runs July 1st to June 30th, if I'm not mistaken, and it very well could be a fourth amendment, and these things don't really necessarily need to come before the board all each and every time. Maybe you all could condition that motion in any future amendments as requested by the Georgia Department of Transportation, Chairman Williams as well. And, you know, that'd be within, is this $100, if I'm not mistaken? $100.
Yeah.
That would just be that authority to keep that moving forward and stay off.
I will amend
The calendar year, the contract year.
I'd be fine with that.
I would amend my motion to say that we authorize, we approve this and authorize the chairman to proceed with other amendments as they come by
Throughout the contract year.
throughout the contract year. Is that a, okay.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve a budget amendment for the road department to cover repairs to the Parks Road Bridge. I'm thinking that what we figured the other day was 25,000. Is that in line with your memory, Jim?
Was it 25 or 20? I'll take
Well,
25.
no, my recollection was that you said that it was gonna cost 20,000, but we were giving a little pad in there.
And let me just, and I'm glad that you did give me a pad, Charlie, because I have been in touch today with Southeast Culver, and I have talked to their engineering department, and the specifications that we originally gave them for the piping, their engineering department recommends a much heavier gauge of metal, and they also recommend aluminized, which would be the first time for us to use aluminum coated instead of galvanized coated and asphalt coated, and that is going to drive the cost up. But they say, the engineers say that the life of the pipe would be substantially more, like 75 years. So I think it would be worth the extra money for us to invest in that. So $25,000 should handle all of our materials and our equipment and the labor to take the wooden bridge out and replace it with what we call a double barrel 5-foot elliptical pipes, and then just put the road base back on top of it, and it will continue to be a single lane gravel road, but it's no longer a bridge and no longer subject to DOT inspection.
And what was the timeline on that?
I didn't give a timeline. Well, I'm assuming that we need to have that done before December 31st, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. All right.
My notes, Charlie, were 25,000 as well.
You might as well stay there, you're on the next one.
Next.
Okay, I don't want to be the only one making motions, so I'll
I make a motion that we approve a budget amendment for the road department to cover repairs to the Parks Road Bridge in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Resolution to approve a budget amendment for the road department to cover the cost of a paving roller. I believe the figure that we had talked about on that was $40,000.
That is correct, and since yesterday's work session, I have talked to all three companies that I've been dealing with, and this is a used roller too.
Right.
Gentlemen, I want you to know that. Even with the budget amendment, we don't have anything yet in the $40,000 range, but that gives us a little bit more room to shop and hopefully come up with something. I will tell you that yesterday afternoon, the Heister roller, the government surplus roller, we put back in service yesterday at a cost of about $5,000, whereas the estimate